Hey everyone, how are you? Happy calendar new year. It's 2025 now. And I wanted to post a short video for anyone who's been following this channel, um, anyone who has had interest in my process and the work I've been doing over the last couple of years, partially because I think it's important to start what I finish what I start. and and I want to speak from partially the standpoint of my ET self, less from my human experience, and and I want to describe a little bit of my process, and I want to share a little bit about consciousness entities and how consciousness entities form and how we can become trapped by them sometimes, how very powerful consciousness entities can take on a life of their own in an energetic matrix such as this earth matrix. Okay, so the intention of this video is to support everyone's highest and best good, to support the liberation of souls on this planet, to support coming into alignment with the ways of the goddess, with the ways of the Divine Mother. So I'm going to be speaking a bit about the Divine Mother, about the expression of the Divine Mother, about how we are being given an opportunity now to embody a different way of being that is a little more in alignment with the flow of the goddess than maybe some of the ways we have experienced spiritual practice or community during the Kali Yuga. And I should say that over this last year, I found myself leaving the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar, what I call the lineage, what is existing today as the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar. I found myself in the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar after reuniting with him in this life and recognizing him and knowing him. And when I met him 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I was still very much covered in illusions that are out of alignment with truth. I was still operating a bit in some old patriarchal paradigm programming and distortion that I was working on transforming, that I knew I needed help transforming. I knew there was a much, much higher state of being that I could embody in this lifetime. Years ago, I had started remembering lifetimes as being an ET. I had started having these cosmic downloads of cosmic intelligence, cosmic wisdom that was guiding me forward in my journey of transformation. And my goal when I started awakening, my knowing, my truth was that I'm here to become the new human. I'm here to do the work that's required to transform the human system into its highest state of harmony, into its highest state of operating potential that allows it to be a channel for the divine, that allows it to be a channel for love, that allows it to be a channel for the highest creative expression that's possible in a human form. That was the goal. That's a big goal, but I also couldn't see. I couldn't see back then what lied between that point and now. So I had to trust. I had to trust that the universe was going to move me towards my highest destiny. And I started remembering phrases and incantations and programming that I could start installing in my mind and my system to help the universe help me in that process. And so when I found Swami Sri Kaleshwar, I was well on that path. I was already, on that journey. I was already mastering, aspects of different spiritual systems or technologies or practices that help the human system again embody it, the most light it can embody, and help the human system move through all of the different expressions of consciousness that are possible. So I was already on that path. I was already, on that path of mastery. And I was already in communion with Star Family, with the ET beings who are my soul family, who I have known in many lifetimes, who I have spent many lifetimes with, who I have a contract with in this lifetime to do the work I'm doing, which has been to become the new human. And that has also required their help. That has required moving into a state of consciousness where I can experience ET contact, where I can both telepathically and in my physical experience of reality be in communion with these beings that are not here on earth yet. And to remember the lifetimes I've had with them and how that informs the evolution of the human experience now and the evolution of human consciousness. So I'm an interplanetary soul. I don't normally incarnate here on Earth. That has become my truth. That has become something I have remembered, and that feels so true to me in so many ways. I have felt very out of place here for a lot of my life until I was able to access these parts of myself, until I was able to see more of myself, until I was able to see what was covering my true self, until I was able to find all of the programming and belief systems from this world that were out of alignment with my truth, and peel them back and remove them and release them so that my truth and what is more in alignment with divine truth, universal ways of operating, universal harmony, that could come through me, that could become me. So I've been on this journey of embodying universal harmony and unconditional love, and also my power, my soul's power, and acquiring that through the process of going into the underworld and finding the parts of my soul, the light that can come back to my being, the power that can come back to my being, finding that hidden in these shadows and the programming and the belief systems of this world that largely have been out of alignment with divine truth. So I've spent 3 years going in and out of the underworld, navigating a very, very supernatural process of reacquiring my soul's essence, my soul's truth and wisdom, acquiring whatever gifts Spirit, Divine Mother had to offer me in this lifetime, following her, answering her call, and being willing to experience some really gnarly things, to know her fully, to know how she operates fully, to become an embodiment of her. That has been the work. That has been the work. And I'm a soul who in this lifetime has been able to make quantum leaps. I'm a soul who's remembered how to do that because I've done it before. And so when I found Swami Sri Kaleshwar, I knew him. I knew him. And not just from this sense of, oh, he's my master, and I would just do anything for him, and I just am so, grateful and in love, with him and the lineage, but from this place of what's going on here, because there's something different about this lineage. There's something unique about this lineage in some very beautiful ways, obviously. But there's also something different about this lineage that was not quite resonating with me from the beginning. Swami was resonating with me from the beginning, just like many of you, because we have deep soul bonds with him in various ways for various reasons. And so when I found him, I knew I needed to progress with the practices and the work that I knew my soul could do using the wisdom he left behind. But I also knew that there was something a little unique about this lineage that wasn't feeling quite right to me, that wasn't feeling quite in alignment with where the direction of this world is going. And mind you, I've also had a lot of experience in the past working in organizations and in teams, supporting teams achieving their highest potential, supporting ways in which teams can come into harmony and ways in which teams can work through lack of harmony or distortion that is there, which largely is about not suppressing what is inside of us, which is largely about being unafraid to speak truth and to say what is on our hearts and our minds. And so, I had a long history of doing that work successfully before finding the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar. And my spiritual abilities, psychic abilities, extrasensory perception was also evolving really rapidly as I found the lineage. I was already experiencing really heightened perception, and I needed some of the processes contained within Swami's knowledge to help my consciousness align with truth and to help my consciousness see more. And part of my process over the last 7 years really has been gaining trust with the universe so that I could see more and so that I could be trusted with seeing more for the purpose of being in service to the loving evolution of this world, to the loving evolution of this universe. So as the first year progressed in the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar and working with him, I started working with one teacher in particular for a couple of months to help me kind of over a hurdle that I needed to get past. I'm so grateful for her. Thank you, Cindy. And then I quickly recognized that while everyone is my teacher, we're all teachers for each other, the teachers of this lineage were not qualified to support me in my evolution of supernatural abilities and my ability to move in supernatural ways in this world. That was something my soul had to teach me and something that I had to learn from Swami and Baba and the goddess throughout the course of my process. Because some of what I started experiencing, I very quickly recognized was above and beyond, some of what was being experienced by some people in this lineage. And that's not to say that any person's experience is better or worse or good or bad or any of that. Like, there's no comparison, there's no judgment about anyone's experience of reality. Everyone's experience is unique, important. Everyone's experience is divine, okay? I just happen to be a soul who operates a little more like a big boss sometimes. I come to Earth to get the job done. That's what I did at Whole Foods, and that's what I've done working with Swami and this lineage. I will describe what I mean by that. As the first year progressed and I started having more and more and more supernatural experiences, as I started remembering more about how to merge with the elements of creation, about how to let the mother's intelligence move through me, as I started perceiving more, I recognized that I couldn't talk about a lot of that out loud. I couldn't talk about that with some of the teachers of the lineage. And I wanted to be sensitive about what I was perceiving, about the work I had been doing with the Supernatural Souls podcast. And part of, what came through with that podcast was me being a pressure valve. In the last video I posted a short practice about feelings and not suppressing anything, and being moving into a space where we truly feel safe feeling our feelings, and we don't feel afraid of Maya. We don't feel afraid of the mother. We don't feel afraid of illusions. We don't feel afraid of negativity. Because whatever we are afraid of, we're going to attract more of. We're going to be given opportunities to meet those fears. And whatever fears we have suppressed actually can create some really ugly Maya situations, which I'll describe in a moment. So this process of navigating through the processes in the first year, and starting to merge with the elements, starting to merge with the mother, having Mother Darshan, having a few very extraordinary experiences, which I'll describe briefly in a moment. The process very quickly took me to some places that are not the normal human experience. And that's what I've wanted. That's what I came here to do. I came here to transcend it. I came here to find all of the again, limiting aspects of the human experience, limiting consciousness, limiting programming that's been living in humans, to find that and to transform it. I think a lot of humans have really underestimated how much is there, how many belief systems, how many programs are living within us that really are not in alignment with the way the goddess wants to support us. And one of the things that is really not in alignment with the way the goddess wants to support us is suppression, and suppression of fear, suppression of information, suppression of truths, suppression of emotions, suppression of conflict, sometimes the process of ascension does actually require resolving a conflict with someone or yourself or the world around you. I think sometimes can buy into this illusion of divinity as being completely free from conflict and negativity. You can reach a point where you're mostly free from that and you're mostly unaffected by it. However, until you have completely reached that point, if you're denying any aspect of conflict or fear or something in you that has not sat right with you about whatever it is, about yourself, about the world around you, about another person, about an interaction, about a relationship, if that is unresolved in you, that is a major distortion that is actually creating a block, in your ability to operate like the goddess, in your ability to embody her truth, in your ability to experience her abundance, her prosperity, and your ability to experience actual peace. And so I'm going to talk about consciousness entities for a moment, because, I think we have sometimes also had some misunderstandings about entities, ghosts, negative aspects of consciousness. And there's also a big illusion around the idea of power and the way in which power channels have been used in the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar. This is probably going to be a long video. Stick with me. We're hang in there. We're part of the way through here. I've got a lot to say in the spirit of not suppressing anything. And I'm going to do it kindly because I could share so much truth that it would be unkind to people. So I'm not going to do that, but but I am going to talk about consciousness entities and the use of power channels. So, we sometimes, think of an entity, as like something outside of ourselves. But a consciousness entity can also be an entity that is formed by a group. And I'm using the lineage as an example here, if a group of people have not resolved aspects of negativity, conflict, duality within them and with themselves, if there has been a lot of historical drama, distortion, even pain, even grief about, what was experienced with Swami, if that has not been fully resolved or processed, that is going to be living in the collective consciousness of this lineage in a way that actually is not serving the highest good of everyone. And it has been 12 years since Swami left Earth. There are groups of people on this planet doing beautiful things with beautiful intentions and charging power channels on a very regular basis, on an almost daily basis, while also allowing aspects of consciousness to stay suppressed in them. That creates a consciousness entity that can actually trap souls, that can actually prevent souls from reaching their highest state of liberation. If the collective consciousness of this lineage, and especially the teachers of this lineage, if that collective consciousness is in any way out of alignment with truth, if that consciousness is in any way carrying suppressed negativity, and that consciousness has been gaining power through the continued use of power channels, that can create a potentially dangerous situation for souls. And by dangerous, I mean a situation where someone may not be able to see their own truth. Someone may not be able to find their way to their soul's highest path because they might get held back by a consciousness entity that has been formed that is not actually operating at its highest liberated state. There's a lot I could say about what has formed the consciousness entity of this lineage. Swami contributed to that as well. Swami gave instructions about what should happen, post-death. I'm not talking about this to, again, to judge anyone or to, I'm not talking about this to judge anyone. This is purely my experience knowing and for educational reasons and to be in service to this world and to Swami and to help finish what he started. So the consciousness entity of this lineage is very strong. Has been very strong and very powerful in some ways. And, we're moving into an era where the idea and illusion of power can dissolve a little. Because power is just love. Like true power is just love. And to gain true power in this world, in this universe, one must demonstrate to the goddess through many experiences that she will give you. One must demonstrate that you can meet all aspects of consciousness with love and without fear and without being triggered, emotionally and in these negative ways, but to truly, truly, truly embody and feel love for all aspects of the creation. And that's a process to go through, to transform the states of consciousness we've been in to a state of consciousness where you can just meet negativity with the power of love and to actually dissolve negativity with love. So, the idea of, continued use of the power channels to shift energy, change energy, to do something in this world is also an illusion. That's also a tricky illusion. Because while they can be used to help us shift energy and shift our consciousness, they're really meant to just help us shift our consciousness to a state where we're just holding divine truth. We're holding a state of divine virtues, and we have programmed our energy field to be these divine vessels, to be these temples of light through which the goddess's light can move through which the goddess's creativity can move through. We shouldn't need to be using power channels every day. Most humans, most souls who are taking human form are not going to be repeating what Swami did. That was a special circumstance during a special time when the power channels were needed for some specific reasons. And because they would continue to be needed for some specific reasons. But it is my opinion and knowing and understanding now, after going through my process, that for a soul to, fully operate them in like the highest state possible, to become a supernatural vessel through which supernatural things can occur, that is also a very specialized path. That is a very specialized path, and it is a hard path to go down. It is a difficult path to go down. It could be a really beautiful one, but it's a difficult one to go down. And not all souls are called to that path. And sometimes we get caught up, in the illusion of power. We get caught up in the illusion of like what Swami showed you, of what Swami did. And it's also my opinion that he took things too far. I'm going to say that out loud on the record with so much love for him and so much gratitude. And Swami, oh, you had your glory, dude. You did it. You showed this world what's possible. But you also took it too far. You took it too far, my friend. And I say that with love because what I have met since finding you and your lineage, I've met people who are caught up in the illusion of power. I've met a lot of illusions of, people feeling like they've had to give their lives over to this mission There wasn't enough conversation about processing emotions and transmutation of energies and what the transformation process is like, because he didn't have to go through all that. He didn't come in with all that negative programming that most humans have. He didn't come in with karmas that a lot of humans have. So he didn't teach that. He didn't teach the process of transformation, in its like most detailed way, I guess. Like he taught how to use the power channels. And he taught about the mother and about her complexities and all of that. And he showed that the physical, like rapid, instant transformation that's possible. And he showed what it's like to be a vessel through which divine love can move through. And he also took it too far. He was approved to release the power channels. But there's also been some work that's had to happen to balance some of what happened when he was alive. And that's okay, like, again, no judgment. It is what it is. It all is what it is. And part of that work involved myself coming into this lineage and my soul meeting the consciousness entity of this lineage. And the very last part of my process that has been completed was a 41-day Mahamaya process. And mind you, I haven't actually been working much while I've been, being a supernatural agent, for the mother and for Star Family over the last couple of years. It's been important that I use my entire energy system, time, space, to perceive, to transmute old patterns and old, negative belief systems, to commune, with a lot of different people in this lineage in ways that would help me perceive the big picture, to go through some of the most intense process work a human could go through. And I just say that because it's my truth. I say it to share truth. And this 41-day Mahamaya process was partially about going into battle. I air quotes on that term, because nothing's ever really a battle. But, for the purpose of duality, for the purpose of playing out the drama of duality, for the purpose of being a check and balance in a situation where a consciousness entity has taken on a life of its own and gotten out of control in some ways. I use the term battle. So this 41-day Mahamaya process, which I knew needed to happen and was partially about creating a safe container with the mother and with Star Family, where I could be of service, I could help, I could do something that would not be very public. I'm sharing a little bit about it now, but something that wouldn't be like a public display of power, but something that would help souls, something that would support the evolution of this world in alignment with divine will, in alignment with divine feminine flow and peace and prosperity and harmony. And And so this 41-day Mahamaya process was a container where I met a lot of the consciousness of the lineage in a different way than I had met it previously. I'd already gone through one process of freeing myself, from the lineage in terms of taking Mother as my guru, allowing Swami and Baba to be support systems as my star family, as beings up there on a ship who are helping to coordinate a lot of the divine activities happening on Earth, to take them as support systems, but to be my own guru and to do the work to truly transform my consciousness, to embody the divine virtues of the Mother, and to not be afraid of all her other aspects of consciousness, and to meet those with loving power. And so this container that was created for 41 days was a container in which I could not only meet the consciousness of the lineage and confront it, check it, but to also allow myself, which I've been doing in various ways and other processes over the last few years, allow myself to take on some of the negative consciousness of this lineage, take on limiting beliefs, take on limiting programs, old negative patterns, and transform them. Because that's how we transform consciousness. We do it through ourselves. We don't try to transform someone else. We don't try to change anything outside of ourselves. If the goddess, if Star Family wanted to dissolve any limiting consciousness in this lineage, or at least dissolve the power of it, dissolve the power it has to affect other souls, if Star Family and the goddess wanted that to happen, that would have to happen through a human taking that on in themselves, which does not feel good. That is yucky to go through. It is yucky to take on a lot of negative blueprints and negative aspects of consciousness, and to then move through the process of dissolving them and transforming them. So that's what I did for 41 days. For 41 days, I engaged this process to meet the consciousness of this lineage in all of its forms, to find the limitation, which I'd already, been seeing. I'd already seen it all, but this time it was, give it to me. Give it to me. Let me have it. Like, let me transform this. Because if I can transform it, no one's going to be trapped by it anymore. If I can transform it and love it, have some words with it, but love it, if I can, meet that consciousness and get it to play by my rules, which are the goddess's rules, that is going to be a benefit for everyone. That is going to be a benefit for all souls who find Swami going forward. It is going to be a benefit for the teachers of this lineage. It's going to be a benefit for those who have been part of the lineage, but maybe haven't found their way to their highest destiny. So for 41 days, I was in the darkness again, and it was awful. And it was a little intense. But the good news is that the power of that consciousness entity has been dissolved. The power of that consciousness entity can no longer prevent any soul from seeing truth, both divine truth, the truth of this world, the truth of this universe, or the truth of themselves, or their divine plan and their divine path in alignment with the highest good for all. We're entering an era where we don't need the power channels anymore. We don't need the power channels anymore. And what I found, in the lineage, had me a little worried at times, like, oh gosh, like what happened 2,000 years ago with Jesus, where, an entire religion sprung up around this soul who came to earth to teach humans a different way. An entire religion for 2,000 years. A very powerful one, and one that's done a lot of good. One that's done a lot of good, but one that has also been mired in a lot of distortion, and one that has also been used in ways that have not served our highest good. And the goddess wants us in alignment with the true power of this universe, which is love. And true miracles and true transformation happens through love. It doesn't happen through trying to do anything. It doesn't happen through trying to make something happen with power channels. It just doesn't. And so one of the things that I felt like, I could demonstrate for the good of all, for anyone who's following, who wants to listen, is to move into a way of operating where my power is my authentic, aligned soul power. My power has come from excavating every part of myself and finding the lost parts of myself, finding the light that was hidden in the darkness, finding the treasures that were there that were hidden in the darkness, finding the gifts that Spirit could give me once I went into the darkness to transform those aspects of consciousness that were part of me in this life. My power is the power of unconditional love and gratitude for it all. My power is the power to speak truth without fear. My power is the power to feel it all and not be afraid of that, but to then rewrite the story. My power is the power to hold this vessel, this temple, in alignment with truth at all costs. True power doesn't really look like what Swami demonstrated, you guys. Yeah, he was powerful. He had some power. He was not operating alone. He was also borrowing the power of some other beings. And that was like part of the plan. That was the divine plan, He was meant to come in and shake things up. He was meant to come in and help clear karmas from the Kali Yuga, to blow open minds in a way that would allow for transformation to occur, to set the stage for the future of more supernatural beings arriving on Earth, to introduce the idea of galaxy people and the council, and so, what Swami did was extraordinary, and it was big. And he also let his human self get away from him sometimes. He was also human too. He was fully divine and fully human, and he was operating during the Kali Yuga, and he was still subject to some of the Kali Yuga era programming, some of it. He also almost turned into another Jesus, like this lineage started to worship him like a god. Stop that, you guys. Like, love him as your brother, your soul friend, your soulmate, your master, your guru, your teacher, all the things, right? We are all things to each other. And it almost happened again. What happened with Jesus almost happened again with Swami. People started creating a religion around him. And these things happen. It's all good, but I'm speaking this out loud so that we can all just take a deep breath and let it go a little more. Let go of these ideas of, one being, like almighty or, so powerful or or in such a position that we need to worship them. Like Jesus never wanted that, like Jesus never wanted everyone to worship him. That was not the point. That was not the point. It is flattering. It is very sweet, that that humans want to do that. It is very sweet that that has happened because of the love and gratitude humans feel for beings who have been able to come to Earth and embody power and show what that looks like. So it's not going to happen like that anymore. We're done with that. Like, that's not going to continue because it can't. And we're all evolving. Humans are all evolving in ways that are allowing them to see through the illusions a little more, are allowing them to see the interconnectedness of all of life, or allowing them to see that we're all just souls and we're all just embodying different states of power, different divine plans for our life. We're all just embodying different aspects of source. And the goddess is all aspects of source. The goddess is about range. The goddess is about us knowing her fully, completely. And, we're not always going to do that in every life. Some lifetimes we're focused on a few aspects of consciousness, a few blueprints, I like to call them, like soul level blueprints, consciousness blueprints we can take on. Sometimes we're just working with a few. Sometimes we're working with a lot so that we can become as multifaceted as we can be. So I think sometimes there's also been this misperception that, when we are evolving into higher states of power or a spiritual ability or spiritual truth, or becoming vessels through which Shakti can channel through, that is about, maintaining a perfect state of peace and stillness and almost like nothingness, at all times. And that's not the case, Like, that's one part of it. Like, that is one way in which we can experience the all that is. That's one way in which we can come into contact with all these different facets, right? Like, we come into stillness so that we can connect with this facet and that facet and that facet, right? And we can bring it into our being. And then we allow those facets to move with us and create with us, and we're not afraid of them. So I think, some of what Swami taught also resulted in some misperceptions about the goddess and the ways in which we can know the goddess and the ways in which we can become the goddess. So I felt like that was important to also say out loud. because, the way in which Swami operated again was a very specialized way of operating. A human can operate like that, obviously. I have operated like that a little bit over the last 2 years. That also takes a lot, for the human system to operate in that state, especially if you are taking on negative energies and transmuting them. Like, I've had enough. Like at this point, like I've been doing this for a few years now and I'm good. Like I'm good to take a break for a while. Swami did that for a long time. He died at 39 for a reason. He had, I think it was kidney failure, right? Like the kidneys are part of our waste elimination system, so the symbolism there is about, his system was taxed. And towards the end of his life, he was not warding off the negativity in the ways he used to. In the earlier parts of his life, he was succumbing to a little bit of it at the end. And some of that was also due to the very intense like situation with his student kingdom. He had a very, very entangled, karmic student kingdom he was holding and working with in that lifetime. I won't say a ton more about that, I guess, but towards the end of his life, his system was no longer transmuting negativity in the way that it used to. His physically, like the waste elimination system was shutting down. And that's part of it. That's part of the energetic, experience that was happening for him that, his system was taxed. It was taxed. And when the system also gets taxed, it's also harder for consciousness to hold, the state of divinity and harmony that we want it to hold, that the whole system operates together, right? So like if our consciousness starts to shift into negative, limiting, or distorted ways of operating, that's going to affect our bodies, and vice versa. If our bodies have transmuted so much negativity that then like our bodies are getting taxed, then it's just harder to hold the light and harder to hold an open vessel, an open, container through which that light can pass through. And so again, what Swami did was a very specialized experience, a very specialized circumstance that, is not the norm, not something most humans are going to repeat. And it is my knowing, my truth that, true enlightenment, like true power, doesn't have to look like that. It can look some different ways. It can be experienced in different ways. I think one of the really fun things about what is happening right now on the planet and with human consciousness is that we're remembering our power of creation. We're remembering that we're really just these creative beings. We are these facets of source that can create with source, with the universe. And that's a cool thing to do. Like that's nothing to be afraid of, right? Like physical reality, the illusions of physical reality are nothing to be afraid of. It's fun to create in physical reality. It is fun to be in flow with physical reality and with the creative force of this universe. We don't have to be like, these like pious divine agents who don't do anything other than just like sitting in meditation. You can do that if that's what you feel called to do, but you are so much more than that. We are so much more than just that. And that's the goddess, that's the divine mother. The divine mother is it all. And so, she number one wants us to experience that, but to experience all of her virtues, all of her abundance, all of her beauty. We also can't suppress the parts of ourselves that we've not wanted to look at, or We can't deny the parts of our human experiences that have been hard or ugly, and we have to cry and we have to let it out, and we have to rewrite old stories and old programs and old belief systems. And we also can't be afraid to say that we're still holding a negative belief system, or we're still holding a negative pattern that we're working to transform. There's no shame in that. When we start to wrap our egos around this, then we can also start to feel shame and guilt and like all the shoulds and woulds and all that stuff, right? And that's the slippery slope of distortion and illusion that traps us. So, my Christmas present to the lineage, to Swami, to the teachers of this lineage, was to engage a 41-day Mahamaya process that would allow my human system to do very intense transmutation work with the consciousness patterns that are existing within this lineage for the good of all. Healing can also look different than, what we've sometimes imagined it to look like too. And so, just by me going through that process and some others, having similar experiences, similar awakenings, that the power of some of the illusions of the consciousness, or the illusions that are born from different aspects of consciousness, those will no longer have the power they have had over the last 12 years. So I just share that with the intention of being transparent, with the intention of not suppressing anything, with the intention of speaking truth, with love, and with the intention of us all being able to experience a life that is really beautiful and fun and joyful, and one that is free from fear, and one that is free from fear of the goddess. She doesn't want you to fear her or the illusions that are possible. She wants you to find that fear in you. She wants you to find the ways in which you haven't been following your joy. She wants you to find the ways in which you haven't allowed yourself to just be your true self because someone else said you had to do it a certain way. She wants you to find that. She wants you to let it go. She wants you to let it burn. She wants you to be your truest self, even if that is not what someone told you you were here to do. I give you permission. If you need to hear it from someone, I give you permission to let go of Swami's teachings. Keep what resonates, let go of the rest. I give you permission to stop using the power channels. You don't need them. You don't need them. The negativity is not going to get you. You're fine. I bless your safety and security in this world. Use your personal mantra, do your moon practices, do what you feel called to do, but you don't need them. Don't feel like you have to stay attached to a belief system or a way of operating that doesn't feel like the real you, or maybe feels like a burden now, or maybe feels like a lot of work. If it feels like a burden, if it feels like work, let it go. Let it go. And yeah, to achieve certain goals, to reach certain levels in the game. Yeah, sometimes some work is required. I've had to do a lot of work, but also that has been to transform these states of consciousness that have kept me trapped in the idea of having to work hard and having to, struggle, right? In reality, the universe is unconditional. The universe will support your belief system unconditionally. Whether that is a belief system of boundlessness, limitless potential, receiving blessings daily, whether that is a belief system of being in perfect health and harmony, or whether that is a belief system of being in struggle and lack, And fear. Fear keeps you in all of those states we don't want to be in. So the hardest work you'll do, which is the work you need to do, is the only work you're here to do, actually, is to find your fears and face them and transmute them. The goddess doesn't want you fearful anymore. And the goddess also doesn't want you playing with illusions of power. The goddess wants you following your passions, following your joy, and embodying the highest state of love that you can embody. Anything else you think you're here to do, to heal someone, to, fulfill a mission, to whatever. A lot of times that's the ego illusion, right? Like that's the ego keeping us trapped in an illusion of what we think we're supposed to be doing. And sometimes that's, what we're supposed to be doing. Like I felt called to bring star family wisdom to life and to talk about ETs and to like have that experience over the last 3 years. That absolutely was something I felt called to do. But then I also had to be really honest with myself and tune into the times where, was it starting to feel like something I'm now obligated to? Is it starting to feel like something I have to do? Am I doing it now in a way where I'm like not actually that excited about it? Like we have to always pause and like tune in to like, what are we feeling called to do? Why do we think we're feeling called to do it? And are we really excited and passionate about it? If not, we're probably out of alignment. And then that's also probably going to create problems for us. Getting the human belief system realigned with the ways of the goddess is, oh man, that's something else, you guys. The ways in which humans have been programmed. Oh, good God. Oh, God have mercy. God have mercy on us all. What a situation we have found ourselves in down here. Oh, I have so much compassion. I have so much compassion because I've been through it. I've been through it in this life, like in this life, I'm a soul who came in with a lot of programming, a lot of karmic programming and negative blueprints and limitations so that I could bust through it and transform it. And yeah, that's hard work. It can be hard work, but it's worth it because then it becomes less work. Then life is a lot less work after that. Then you're in flow, and then, synchronicity is guiding you in ways that allow the right things to unfold. So our work is facing our fears and transforming those states of limitation. And on the Star Family Wisdom site, I'm posting some affirmation videos where you can hear me speaking words of truth and phrases that are meant to help your system come into alignment with the magic of the universe, with the magical flow of the goddess, with the way in which synchronicity and divine flow can occur, because we're meant to be in this like really beautiful divine flow that we have just been programmed out of as humans. So this year, that's my intention, to be fully in that flow. I have been in a lot of ways, but with these periods of going into the underworld to find, the root cause of a particular distortion or limitation or feeling, that I was having, or whatever the situation was. On the Star Family Wisdom site, you can also find some guided journey meditations that I have used consistently for years to navigate my way through the lower world, through the underworld, to find the chambers of the soul that contain the information about your past wounding, past traumas, the original event that gave rise to a limitation, a belief system, soul loss, negative programming, whatever it is that is living in us today as a story, usually subconsciously. We can find that, and then we can also go to the chamber where we can rewrite the story, rewrite, the belief system that's living within us. We can call back our soul power. We can receive gifts from spirit. This is where you get cities. You got to go to the lower world. That's like also the big misnomer that like you're going up to God, right? Like up to God to get cities. You're going down. You're going into the lower world. You're going into the lower world to find the light that has been hidden in the shadows. So go to the Star Family Wisdom website if you want help navigating that process. You can get the journeys there, and they have been so supportive for me in this process. It is how I have been able to meet many different aspects of consciousness, negative aspects of consciousness, and how I have been able to rise to higher levels of understanding and integration with those aspects of consciousness, how I have been able to meet those aspects of consciousness with love and to transform them with love. So my gift to Swami and his lineage was 2 years of my time transforming aspects of consciousness that would help this world, help myself in this lifetime, but help this world, and also help any soul who has been part of this lineage and any soul who finds their way into the lineage going forward, knowing that we are here to be liberated and in our joy. Okay, I think I will stop there for today. That was enough. And thank you for living your truth, speaking your truth. Yeah, my computer is saying it's time to stop. And following your joy and becoming your truest self. That's who you're here to be, becoming your truest self. And I wish you all of the luck, blessings, and grace on that journey. Bye for now.